Welcome to the Extreme Underground, the show where I take a look at some of the most disturbing and controversial films in the world of cinema. Today I'm talking about The Girl Next Door. Directed by Gregory Wilson, starring William Atherton, Blythe Auffarth, and Blanche Baker. This movie is based on the Jack Ketchum novel of the same name, which is loosely based on the case of Sylvia Likens, which happened back in the 60s. So this takes elements of the real case and turns them into a much more disturbing tale. Not to say that what happened was not disturbing in itself, because it's absolutely heartbreaking. Just certain things have been altered in Jack Ketchum's version. If you want a more accurate depiction of the events, An American Crime that stars Ellen Page came out the exact same year as this, 2007. Moving on to the actual story, this movie is about Meg, a girl whose parents died, and now her and her sister are sent to live with her Aunt Ruth. She meets David, her next door neighbor, and they become somewhat friends. Unfortunately, Meg and her sister are in her aunt's house, and her Aunt Ruth is just an absolute bitch who hates women and consistently abuses Meg.
I'm just warning you, honey. If I see any slutting going on around this house, your ass is grass and Auntie Ruth's the lawnmower.
Ruth also has a bunch of kids of her own, boys ranging from anywhere from like 5 or 6 to 17. There's probably 6 or 7 of them that live in this house. Going back to Ruth, she's very reckless. She lets her children drink beer and smoke in the house.
Finish up your beers, boys. Time we get going to that carnival.
And anytime she talks to Meg, she tries to make an example of her, basically just saying like boys can get whatever they want from a woman, so long as they are nice to them. This comes to fruition on screen when Meg decides to give David a painting, because they had been discussing how Meg likes to paint, and unfortunately Ruth wouldn't allow that. For some reason, David decides to show Ruth, which basically cements her point as, look David, you got her to make you a picture because you were nice to her. Imagine what else you could get.
Take Davy here. He was nice to Maggie and he got himself a painting. That is what you got, isn't it, David?
And it's very awkward, especially considering the age range of everybody in this movie.
Well, girls these days are just plain easy. That's their problem.
Susan, Meg's sister, is handicapped. She has knee braces and she walks with crutches, and she relies on Meg. Unfortunately, Ruth knows that Meg will be more hurt if she punishes her sister instead of her. So she offers up lashings to her sister instead, compacting the emotional abuse.
You wise mouth me, you sass me, anything like that, Missy, and she pays for it.
And as things progressively get more and more abusive, Meg is eventually tied up in the basement, blindfolded, as Ruth and all of the children, including some from the neighborhood, decide to torture her as they ask her to confess for touching herself. They cut her, they burn her with cigarettes.
Now we gotta cauterize.
Off screen, they apparently use her as a punching bag. The boys who live in the house invite their friends over to join in on the so-called fun. They cut her clothes off. They continuously defeat her over and over again and seemingly have her hung up for weeks. She's not eating. She's barely drinking unless David is slipping in through the back door and trying to help her out, as he desperately tries to find ways to get her out of this situation without getting put into the same situation himself. Eventually, when Meg is completely defeated, they rape her on a mattress in the basement and brand her stomach with "I fuck me," just before Ruth decides to burn her so that she's no longer desirable to boys.
A woman wants a man between her legs, one little spot. You take out that spot, you take out all of her desire.
As you've heard me describe it and you've seen what I've shown you, this is absolutely one of the most disturbing movies that I've ever seen. I've seen it a number of times now, and it doesn't get any easier to watch because Blythe Auffarth, who plays Meg, is just such a good actor. Considering how innocent she is, there's no reason that Ruth should ever think that she was a whore or a slut. Like, she continuously barks at her. She's just a really nice, kind girl who's trying to take care of her sister after her parents passed away. And she's just trying to make the best of things, and she's put in a situation where she has no control. And watching Meg slowly go from like nice to absolutely destroyed emotionally is just heartbreaking. And the acting is perfect. By the end of it, she's barely muttering words. She can't even open her mouth because she's malnourished. She's been beaten to an inch of her life and does eventually die right there on the bed that she was raped in. On the flip side of things, we have David. He's the outsider. He's not part of these boys. He's not contributing, but there's nothing that he can do. He knows that if he tells anybody, they're not gonna believe him. He's afraid of being put in a similar situation. So you feel for David as well, because you're trying to figure out how David is going to fix all this. And the unfortunate part is he can't. Well, he did eventually get people to come to the house. It was too late at that point. He tries to talk to his mother, but she's sleeping. So he thinks that she just doesn't care because she rolls over in her sleep, but he felt like he was dismissed, which is the same reasons why he didn't go to his parents before. And this whole movie opens up with David as an adult receiving the painting that Meg had given him, and this is basically just him recounting everything that they all went through together, and he's still thinking about it almost 40 years later or so. So it's a traumatizing experience for everybody involved, and this is just one person's story. Ruth, played by Blanche Baker, was absolutely incredible as well, and she's easily one of the best villains that I've seen in any movie.
And Meg here's a lady. Why, sure she is. So what in the name of Jesus do you think that makes me? You suppose I'm not a lady?
No, I just
You better
thought...
damn well say no to me.
She's got a silver tongue. She's very manipulative, and she constantly just like twists words into a distorted reality of how women just want sex and that men can easily get it from them if they're just nice. But at the same point, she also despises other women. And I'm sure this goes much deeper. I'm sure Ruth has a backstory of abuse herself.
Willie Sr. was going to own his own company when we were married. We were going to be richer than my folks were when I was a kid in Haddonfield. Now look what I got. And that lovely Irish bastard's off to God knows where.
Maybe she's projecting. She has a lot of children and seemingly no father figure in the picture. Perhaps she was the one who was sleeping around herself, and now she's living in this world that she doesn't want to be a part of. And this is her way of trying to fix things. I'm sure there's a lot of different avenues this can be seen as, but as a whole, this movie is very, very emotional, because it's just so heartbreaking, because you really, really care for Meg. I genuinely don't have any dislikes for this movie. It's very emotional, it's dark, it's bleak, and it doesn't end the way that you would want it to. You are invested in Meg, and you're hoping that she gets out alive, and she doesn't. It's painful to watch, and even knowing everything and watching it again, it's just as disturbing.
Pull up this little girl's skirt and pull down her panties for Mama.
I highly recommend it, so I'm gonna give this 4.5 crayfish out of 5. As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and beyond.